My brother messed up my relationship that lasted 3 years. Said it simply happened. My family told me to move on. I left the family business that I had been running for years. I'm 32 years old and sitting in my new apartment. It's been 3 months since the nuclear bomb went off in my household. I thought it was time to get this off my chest because some of you might think I went too far. Most of you will probably say I didn't go far enough. Either way, here's how I ruined my family's finances after finding out that my brother had been sleeping with my girlfriend for the whole 3 years we were together. Let me start by talking about my family, since that's crucial to know when you try to figure out why I did what I did. Tyler, my younger brother, has always been the best. Not in a way that makes you think you're being paranoid. I'm talking about the kind of favoritism that's so obvious that a sitcom writer would say, tone it down. That's not realistic. I was the responsible one growing up. I earned high grades without being told to, helped around the house, and had a part-time job by the time I was 15. It was just normal stuff for older siblings that nobody really noticed or cared about. Tyler, on the other hand, had completely different rules. He failed 3 classes his junior year of high school: English, history, and algebra. They weren't even hard classes. Dad said he wasn't being challenged enough and that they should look into advanced placement courses. The kid who couldn't pass basic algebra was apparently ready for AP calculus. He quit after a week, saying the teacher was out to get him. When he was 16, he got caught stealing a pair of $200 noise-canceling headphones from Target. Security caught him as he was leaving. His mom said it was just a phase and boys will be boys. They didn't press charges, so it wasn't that serious. No punishment. No making him work to pay it back. Nothing. I got a 2-week grounding when I was 15 for coming home an hour past curfew because I was helping a friend whose car broke down. I called ahead and explained everything. Didn't matter. Rules are rules. But shoplifting was just boys being boys. When Tyler was 17, he crashed Dad's truck into a mailbox while joying. Absolutely demolished it. The front end was totaled, and the damage was about $8,000. I had 3 friends in the car and was going about 50 in a 25. My dad said, accidents happen. That's what insurance is for. When I was 17, I accidentally scratched my mom's car door with my bike. It was a small scratch, maybe 3 inches long, and I had to pay for the repair out of my summer savings. Different rules for the same family. Then there was the college money issue. Dad had set aside about $40,000 for each of us. I used mine to pay for school and books. Tyler spent his on living expenses and partying for a year before dropping out. Did Dad make him pay it back? No. Tyler moved back home rent-free, and Dad kept giving him money for failed business ventures. The worst part is that this followed us into adulthood. At least when we were kids, you could say Tyler was young and dumb. But the favoritism didn't stop when we grew up. It got worse. I worked my butt off to get through college. I took out loans, worked 2 part-time jobs, graduated with a finance degree, and got a good job as a financial analyst at a mid-sized company. Nothing fancy, but I made good money and was moving up in the world. By the time I was 26, I had my own place, paid off my car, and had real savings in investment accounts. I was doing everything right according to the responsible adult playbook. Tyler dropped out of college after 1 year, saying that the traditional education system was too limiting for his entrepreneurial spirit. He then bounced between business ventures that never worked. He started a pressure washing business and made his dad buy him a $3,000 commercial pressure washer, trailer, and advertising. He did maybe 3 jobs and made about $400 before he stopped answering calls. The equipment sat in his dad's garage for 2 years. Then he started a vending machine empire. He watched a YouTube video about passive income and became convinced. He bought 4 machines on credit and put them in bad places, like an abandoned strip mall, a gym that already had 3 machines, and 2 office buildings where he didn't ask permission and was kicked out after a week. He lost a total of $6,000. Then he started trading cryptocurrency and convinced his dad to give him $10,000 to invest. Lost $9,000 in 3 months buying random coins because Reddit said they'd moon. Kept the remaining $1,000 for a new phone. Then social media consulting. Made an Instagram account. Charged $500 to manage businesses' social media. Got 2 clients, both family friends, posted maybe twice a month. Random stuff with nothing to do with their businesses. Ghosted when they asked for refunds. He failed in business because of bad timing or because people didn't get his vision. He quit 7 or 8 jobs because his boss couldn't handle his new ideas. He worked at Verizon for 3 months selling phones before quitting because they wanted him to meet sales goals. He worked at a gym for 5 weeks before getting fired for being late all the time. He lived in his parents' basement for free until he was 25, and he didn't do anything to help. Every Sunday dinner, Mom would defend him. Tyler's just finding his way. He's an entrepreneur. These things take time. I thought, I found my way just fine. Nobody gave me 5 years of free rent to figure it out. 3 years ago, my dad asked me to help him reorganize the finances of his construction company. He had built a good business over the course of 30 years, mostly doing home renovations and small commercial projects. But he was old-fashioned when it came to managing money. Everything was in his head or written down on paper napkins. There were no real systems in place. He thought bookkeeping meant keeping a box of receipts and a checkbook that he balanced maybe twice a year. I spent 6 months of nights and weekends setting up proper bookkeeping systems, making spreadsheets to keep track of projects, using QuickBooks, and getting to know better suppliers who gave us volume discounts. I renegotiated contracts with subcontractors and figured out which projects were actually making money and which ones were just keeping people busy. By streamlining operations and cutting waste, I saved him about $80,000 that first year. He thanked me with a handshake and said, "That's what family does." There was no payment, no equity, and not even a Christmas bonus, just the expectation that I'd keep doing it because we're family. And like an idiot, I did. 2 years later, Dad decides to semi-retire. He's 62 and wants to take a break, travel with Mom, and maybe play some golf. That's completely reasonable. Can you guess who he chooses to take over? That's right, Tyler. Even though my brother has no experience in construction, project management, or running a business, and I've been managing the finances for free for 3 years, saving the company tens of thousands of dollars each year. But Tyler got the title, the $75,000 salary, and Dad gave him half of the business. He just gave him 50% of a company that was probably worth $1.2 million at the time. When I told Dad that I had been doing executive-level work without pay for 3 years, he said, "You have your own career. Tyler needs this more than you do, right? That's how business succession should work. Give it to the person who needs it most, not the person who's actually qualified or who's been keeping the ship afloat." But I let it slide because I'm a doormat who kept thinking family should mean something. Now, let's talk about Rachel, my ex-girlfriend. We met at a barbecue 4 years ago through mutual friends. She was smart, fun, worked as a dental hygienist, and had a laugh that could light up a room. We just clicked. After a couple of months, we started dating pretty seriously. I introduced her to my family around month 3. Looking back, that was probably when everything went wrong. Tyler started being charming right away. This is what he does best. He's the hilarious, charming life of the party guy, while I'm the dull one who talks about spreadsheets and retirement accounts. I remember him pulling me aside that first supper and saying, "Dude, she's way out of your league. How do you do that?" I laughed it off because I thought he was joking. Stupid me. Rachel got really close to my family over the next 3 years. She'd go to their Sunday dinners even when I had to work late. She'd help Mom with holiday cooking, go shopping with my aunt, and go to Tyler's birthday parties even when I couldn't make it because of work. I thought this was great. My girlfriend getting along with my family, integration, commitment, all the things you want in a serious relationship. Looking back, there were signs, little things that didn't quite add up, but I explained away because I trusted her. Like how she always wanted to sit next to Tyler at family dinners instead of me. She said it was because I was always getting up to help Dad with something, so she didn't want to be stuck between empty chairs. That made sense at the time. Or how she started dressing differently for Sunday dinners. She wore nicer clothes, more makeup, and always did her hair, but when we went out just the 2 of us, she wore jeans and a t-shirt with no makeup. I thought she was just trying to impress my parents. I didn't think she was trying to impress my brother. She would text Tyler about random things, like what was the name of the restaurant your family went to last month? Or send him memes during the day that she wouldn't send me. When I asked her about it once, she said Tyler was just funnier than me and laughed it off like it was a joke. I laughed too, like an idiot. There was one time about a year into our relationship when I got home from work early and Rachel was at my apartment. She wasn't supposed to be there. She said she let herself in to surprise me with dinner. How sweet, right? But nothing was cooking. There were no ingredients out, and she looked flustered as she came out of my bedroom. Her hair was a mess and she was adjusting her shirt. She said she had been napping and I had startled her. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? Later, I found out from the messages that Tyler had been there and they had been having sex in my bed when I got home earlier than expected. He must have been hiding in my closet while she talked to me, and then he snuck out after I went to the bathroom. They thought it was funny and laughed about it in the messages. Close call, LOL. Your brother is clueless. She and Tyler became very close on social media. They followed each other, which is normal. But Tyler would leave comments on all of her pictures, like looking good, fire emoji, and outfits on point. That should have been a red flag, but I thought he was just being nice. She would do the same on his posts, praising his gym pictures, his new car, and so on. They talked to each other more online than she and I did. Rachel's schedule as a dental hygienist was pretty regular. Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, with some Saturday mornings. But she started picking up a lot of overtime, or at least that's what she told me. She worked late, covered for sick co-workers, and went in on weekends. I supported it because we were saving for a house and more money was good. It turned out that most of that overtime wasn't real. She was with Tyler. They'd meet up while I was at work, or she'd tell me she had plans with her girlfriends and go see him instead. This went on for 3 years, with me just believing her because I trusted her. My best friend Jordan tried to warn me about 6 months ago. We were watching the game at his place when he casually brought it up during a commercial break. Hey man, not trying to start anything, but has Rachel been acting weird lately? Like distant? I thought about it. She had been less interested in spending time together and had been picking fights over stupid things like me working late or how I loaded the dishwasher. She was always on her phone and would turn the screen away when I walked by. But I was busy with work and helping my dad, so I thought we were just in a rut. Every relationship goes through phases, right? I told Jordan we were fine, just busy. He didn't push it, but he gave me that look that says, I tried to warn you. 3 months ago, the truth came out in the most sad way possible. I was at my parents' house on a Wednesday afternoon helping my dad with some paperwork for a big commercial bid. Tyler was supposed to be at a job site overseeing a kitchen renovation. Rachel was supposed to be working an afternoon shift at the dental office. I was working in the home office when I heard noises upstairs. I heard footsteps, voices, and laughter. I thought maybe Dad was up there, so I went to investigate. That's when I heard them in Tyler's old bedroom, which he still used when he slept over. Rachel's voice was quite distinct. She was not alone. Then Tyler's giggle. That dumb laugh he does when he thinks he's being smart. I stood in that hallway for about 30 seconds while my brain tried to figure out what I was hearing. Then something clicked. Not the kind of rage you see in movies, but the cold, calculating kind that makes you think clearly for the first time in years. I took out my phone and started recording audio through the door. I got about 2 minutes of very incriminating evidence. I couldn't make out every word, but it was enough. I then went downstairs, got in my car, and drove home. I didn't confront them or burst through the door. I just gathered evidence and left. That night, while Rachel was in the shower, I went through her laptop. I know it's an invasion of privacy, but who cares? At that moment, my gut was screaming at me, and I needed to know the truth. My hands were shaking as I opened her laptop. She didn't even have it password secured when she was home. Trusted me totally. Ironic. Found the messages almost quickly. She wasn't even trying to disguise them. There were just regular texts, not even a secret app. I went back through months of conversations, then years. My stomach dropped as the dates kept going back. Back past our anniversary, back past Christmas, back past the vacation we took to the coast, back to almost the beginning of our relationship. The messages were disgusting. There was a lot of sexual stuff, and it was very graphic. They talked about what they did, where they did it, and when they did it, but what really hurt was how they talked about me. He's so boring in bed, like missionary with the lights off and that's it. Does he ever do anything spontaneous, or is everything scheduled in his phone? Your brother is cute, but he's basically a robot. Seriously, I think he organizes his socks by color. Who does that? Tyler's answers made it worse. He won't find out because he's too busy with work and family stuff. Sometimes I feel bad, but she clearly likes me better. I can't blame her, LOL. Honestly, the guy has no game. I'm doing him a favor by keeping her entertained. She would have left him by now if it weren't for the messages about specific times. They had hooked up during Thanksgiving while I was helping Dad carve the turkey, Christmas when I was out shopping for Rachel's gift, and my birthday party last year when I thought Rachel and Tyler had both gone to get more ice and drinks. They had been in the garage together. The texts talked of family events as if they were a cover for their affair. Sunday dinners were great because I was always busy assisting Dad or talking to my uncles. Holiday parties let them vanish for 20 minutes without anybody noticing. They loved coming to my apartment because I worked regular hours and they knew when it was safe. I found out they had done it in my bed at least a dozen times, in my car twice when Rachel borrowed it, and once in the guest bathroom at my parents' house during a family barbecue while I was outside grilling. There were close calls documented. There were times when I almost caught them and times when they thought I was acting strange. But every time Tyler would be extra nice to me and Rachel would be extra loving for a few days, and I would forget about it. They talked about me like I was a game to be played or a puzzle to work around. The timeline was damning. The first flirty message was sent about 2 months after Rachel and I started dating. Just testing the water stuff. Your brother's lucky to have you seemed innocent enough until you saw Tyler's response. He's lucky to have her. Maybe I should get lucky, too. First actual meetup was 3 months in Tyler's apartment. Rachel told me she was having a girls' night. I took screenshots of everything. I sent her hundreds of messages over 3 years, backed them up to 3 different cloud services, and downloaded them to a flash drive. I made sure I had copies that couldn't be deleted, even if Rachel found out what I'd done. Then I went even further and checked her phone records online because we were on a family plan. I saw thousands of texts and calls between her and Tyler. They called each other late at night while I was sleeping, texted each other during my work hours, and called each other from parking lots and other random places. Then I did something that surprised even me. I didn't confront Rachel. I kept acting normal. I took her out to dinner that weekend and was nice and normal. I even slept with her while I was planning my exit strategy. I had everything ready 2 weeks later. I had a new apartment rented and ready, movers scheduled, and my bank accounts separated. I even changed the passwords and security questions on everything. Then I planned the family dinner. I told my mom I wanted to host a Sunday dinner at my place for a change. She was so happy and thought it meant I was finally getting serious about family. I invited everyone. Mom, Dad, Tyler, Aunt Linda, Uncle Frank, and even my cousin, who I didn't talk to much. Rachel, of course, said she'd love to come. On the night of the dinner, I set everything up nicely. I ordered catering so that no one could say I didn't make an effort. I had drinks ready, music playing, and everything else. Everyone was in a great mood when they got there. Tyler brought drinks for the craft. Rachel brought dessert. Everyone acted like we were one big happy family. We got through appetizers and small talk. Then, just as we were sitting down to eat, I stood up with my glass like I was going to make a toast. So, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. There's something I need to tell the family. Mom smiled, probably because she thought I was going to ask her to marry me or tell her I got a promotion. Tyler looked mildly interested, and Rachel looked confused. I've learned something important over the last few weeks. Family is supposed to mean something, and trust is supposed to mean something. But apparently I've been using different definitions than the rest of you. The room got quiet. Dad put down his fork. My brother and my girlfriend have been sleeping together for 3 years. For 3 years, you all sat here at family dinners, probably knowing, definitely suspecting, and no one said a word. Rachel's face went white, Tyler's went red, and Mom gasped. I pulled out my phone and started playing the audio I'd recorded. Just 30 seconds of it. Enough for everyone to hear exactly what I'd heard in that hallway. Then I pulled up the screenshots on my TV. Dated messages. 3 years worth. Let everyone get a good look. Tyler tried to talk first. Dude, I can explain. Things just happened. We didn't mean for save it. Things don't just happen for 3 years. That takes preparation and coordination. You lied to my face at every family event while you were sleeping with my girlfriend. Rachel was crying that I'm so sorry. I never wanted to harm you. I was going to tell you. I swear. I just didn't know how. You had 3 years to figure it out. You decided not to. That's a decision, not a mistake. The room was completely silent. Everyone was staring at their plates, at me, or at each other. No one was defending me or looking angry on my behalf. Just uncomfortable silence. Finally, Dad spoke up. This is obviously a tough situation, but we're family. We need to stay calm while we work through this. Getting angry won't help anyone. I laughed. I really did. You want me to stay calm while I work through 3 years of betrayal? What do you want us to do? Mom asked. Tyler made a mistake. Rachel made a mistake. But ruining the family over this seems like too much. There it was. The answer I had been expecting, but still couldn't believe. Don't cause trouble. Keep the peace. Protect Tyler because that's what we've always done. I'm not breaking anything. I'm just done being the family doormat. I'm done being the responsible one who gives up everything while Tyler gets everything and messes it up. Tyler got up. You're being dramatic. Yes, we messed up. But you're going to throw away your whole family over this? Watch me. I walked to the door and opened it. Everyone out now. Dinner's over. At first, no one moved. Rachel started to pack her things while still crying. Tyler looked like he wanted to argue, but Mom grabbed his arm. They all left one by one. Dad tried to say something as he passed, but I shook my head. After they left, I sat in my apartment with all the catering food that nobody had eaten and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, just clarity. The next day, I sent Dad an email. It was formal, professional, and effective immediately. I was quitting any involvement with the family business. I was done with all the systems I had set up, all the supplier relationships, and all the financial tracking. I would send over documentation on how everything worked, but I wouldn't be providing any ongoing support. He answered 2 hours later. This is childish. You're hurting the business to get back at Tyler. Think about what you're doing. I thought about it for 3 years while you gave Tyler a company he wasn't ready to run. I thought about it every Sunday dinner where I helped for free while Tyler got paid. I thought about it a lot. This is me being done thinking about it. The business fell apart faster than I thought it would. Tyler's management style of showing up late, ignoring problems, and hoping things work themselves out doesn't work well. The first big disaster was the Henderson project, which was a big kitchen renovation for a repeat client. It should have been easy. There was a $8,000 budget and a 2-week deadline. Tyler was supposed to be in charge, but he only came to the job site twice. He didn't order materials until the crew was already there waiting, and he ordered the wrong cabinets, which took another week. He hired a plumber who did such a bad job that they had to tear everything out and start over. The project that should have taken 2 weeks ended up taking 6. The client refused to pay the full amount and threatened to sue. Dad had to lose $3,000 just to keep the client. Then there was the Morrison commercial job, which was a small office build-out with a $20,000 contract. Tyler bid on it without actually figuring out how much the materials and labor would cost. They just threw out a number that sounded good. It turned out that his number was about 30% too low, and they lost $8,000 on that job. When Dad asked Tyler about it, Tyler said he was trying to be competitive to win the bid. He didn't understand that winning a bid you lose money on isn't actually winning. Within a month of me leaving, they'd lost 2 major clients completely. One was because Tyler missed 3 deadline extensions in a row. The client literally told Dad they couldn't work with someone so unreliable. The other was because Tyler showed up to a meeting unprepared, couldn't answer basic questions about the timeline or budget, and tried to wing it with vague nonsense that made the client wonder if we even knew what we were doing. Tyler didn't understand the new bookkeeping system I set up and didn't bother to learn. He just went back to his dad's old shoebox method. There were receipts everywhere, and he didn't know which projects were making money. I had made a beautiful spreadsheet system that tracked everything, including materials, labor, overhead, and profit margins, and it updated itself. Tyler looked at it once, said it was too hard, and went back to keeping everything in his head, just like his dad used to do. Because Tyler had burned through all the goodwill I'd built, suppliers started demanding payment up front. I had spent 2 years building relationships, always paying on time, and being honest with people about timelines. Tyler would order things, promise to pay in 30 days, and then forget about it until they called looking for money 60 days later. One supplier even showed up at the shop demanding payment before they would unload lumber Tyler had ordered. Dad had to write a check right away. Tyler spent money like it was going out of style. He'd order materials without checking prices. I used to spend time getting quotes from 3 different suppliers to find the best deal. Tyler would just call whoever answered first and order whatever they had. He probably paid 20% more for materials across the board. He'd hire subcontractors without checking them out first. I had a list of reliable contractors we'd worked with for years. They charged fair prices, did good work, and showed up on time. Tyler would hire whoever posted on Craigslist or whoever he met at a bar. He ended up with a crew that didn't show up half the time, did sloppy work the other half, and charged premium rates. He approved change orders without knowing how they would affect the budget. Customers would ask for something extra, and Tyler would say, "Sure, no problem." Then he would forget to charge for it. I later learned that he had given away about $15,000 worth of extra work because he didn't want to seem difficult. The store itself became a mess. I used to keep the inventory organized and knew what we had and what we needed to order. Tyler just let everything pile up wherever. Materials for 3 different jobs got mixed up. Tools were left out in the rain, and equipment wasn't kept up. A $15,000 tile saw broke because no one cleaned it after use, and the motor seized up. Projects went over budget all the time because Tyler didn't keep track of costs properly. He'd tell a client that the job would cost 12 grand, but then he'd spend 17 grand without even realizing it until the job was done and there was no money left. There was no planning for problems, no buffer, just blind hope that everything would work out. Dad had to come out of semi-retirement to keep things from falling apart completely. At 64 years old, he was back to working 60-hour weeks and getting up at 5 a.m. to open the shop and stay until 7:00 p.m. to finish paperwork. Tyler should have been handling things and working Saturdays to fix Tyler's messes from the week. His hands were killing him. His back was hurting. He looked tired every time I saw him, and I didn't care. Mom called me after about 2 months and said, "Your father's exhausted. This needs to stop. You're hurting him to hurt Tyler." I'm not hurting anyone. I'm just not helping anymore. There's a difference. If the business can't work without me doing free work, that's not my problem. That's a problem with the business model. Family is supposed to help each other, but they're also not supposed to screw each other over. It's funny that you're worried about me helping now, but you weren't worried about 3 years of betrayal. She hung up on me. About 3 months later, Tyler called me. It was the first time we had talked since dinner. He was desperate. "Dude, I know I messed up. I know I messed up bad. But can we please just put this aside and you help? Dad? The business is drowning. You're asking me to put aside 3 years of betrayal so I can save a business that was given to you for free. You're ruining the business because you don't know what you're doing. I'll step back. I'll leave the business completely. Just please help, Dad. It's not my problem anymore. You wanted the business, and you got it. You need to figure it out. You're ruining Dad's legacy over a girl. I'm watching you ruin it with your stupidity. I'm just not cleaning up your mess anymore. That's a big difference." He called me a few names and hung up. He blocked my number. Whatever. Over the next few weeks, I slowly put my life back together. I had been doing some consulting work on the side for a while, mostly for friends of friends. I helped small businesses with their finances and operations. I was good at it. I could look at a business's books and see exactly where they were losing money, where they could cut costs, and where they could make things better. I made it a full-time job. I set up an LLC, built a website, and reached out to my network. A lot of people needed help and were willing to pay for it. My first real client was a small HVAC company that was making money but couldn't figure out why they weren't profitable. I spent 2 weeks looking at how they did business. I found out they were losing money on service calls because they weren't taking into account the cost of driving and the cost of the vehicle. I changed their pricing model, and in 3 months they went from barely breaking even to making 15% profit margins. They paid me $8,000 for 2 weeks of work. Word got out, and I got a referral to a landscaping company that had similar problems. Then a small restaurant group that didn't understand how much their food cost. Then a dental office that wanted to grow but wasn't sure if they could afford it. Each project paid between $5,000 and $15,000, depending on how hard it was. I was making in 1 month what I used to make in 3 months as an analyst. The work was actually interesting. Different businesses had different problems. Some needed to change how they priced their goods, some needed to cut costs, and some needed to completely change how they did business. I would come in, look at everything, make them custom spreadsheets and tracking systems, train their staff, and leave them ready to succeed. I had 6 steady clients on retainer within 6 months, and I was making about $15,000 a month before taxes, 3 times what I made as an analyst. I was working only 30 hours a week instead of 50. I started turning down work because I was too busy. I had to raise my rates from $150 an hour to $250 an hour to get rid of the people who weren't serious. I didn't lose any clients. In fact, I got more interest because higher prices mean higher quality. I moved into a nicer 2-bedroom apartment with a real office, a gym in the building, and a parking spot. I also bought myself a new car. Nothing too crazy, but it was nice and comfortable. It was the kind of thing I had always wanted but felt bad about buying because I was giving my time away for free to family. Meanwhile, the family construction company was still going down the drain. They were losing money fast. Projects that should have taken 4 weeks were taking 8, and clients were asking for refunds. Subcontractors were no longer willing to work for them. Dad was running around putting out fires while Tyler blamed everyone but himself. About 4 months in, Dad called me directly, not Mom as a messenger. I need your help. Not for Tyler. For me. I built this company from nothing. I can't watch it die. You gave it to someone who's killing it. That was your choice. I see now that I made a mistake. But please help me save what I built. And there it was. The acknowledgement I had been waiting for. Part of me wanted to say no. Let it burn. Watch them figure it out. But I'm not like that. Despite everything, I didn't really want to see Dad lose his life's work. I just wanted him to see what Tyler really was. I'll help, but I have conditions. Anything. First, I'm not doing this for free. You want me to save the business? You pay me consulting rates. $200 an hour, 20-hour minimum per week. Second, Tyler has no decision-making authority while I'm working. He can show up, he can learn, but he doesn't override anything I do. Third, once the business is stable, we're going to have a serious talk about succession planning. Not just giving it to the person who needs it the most. Dad agreed to everything, probably because he was desperate and knew I was his only option. I came back, but not as free family labor. I was a paid consultant with a contract and everything in writing. I worked exactly 20 hours a week, built every minute, and didn't do anything beyond what I was contracted to do. The first thing I did was check the damage. It was worse than I thought. They were about $90,000 in the hole. Suppliers wouldn't give them credit anymore, and 3 projects were so far behind that they were likely to be sued for breach of contract. The accounts were a mess. Tyler had been mixing personal and business expenses, paying himself whenever he wanted, and using company cards to buy things for his apartment. The first month was spent stopping the bleeding. I called suppliers I still had relationships with, told them the truth about what was going on, and negotiated new terms. They weren't as good as before, but they were better than paying upfront. I also collected on unpaid invoices and set up a proper accounting system that even my dad could follow. But here's the thing. I only did what I was paid to do. I didn't go above and beyond. I didn't work nights or weekends. I didn't bring in new clients or chase big projects. I did my 20 hours a week, built them up properly, and went back to my own successful consulting business. The business stabilized but didn't grow. They weren't losing money anymore, but they weren't making as much as they used to either. That was enough to keep the lights on, but not enough for Dad's retirement plans. About 5 months into this deal, Mom called me again. Your father is tired. He's 64 years old and working 60 hours a week to keep this business going. This needs to end. I agreed. He should sell the business and retire. He built this company from the ground up. It's his legacy. He should have thought about that before giving it to someone who didn't know what they were doing. What do you want from me, Mom? I want you to come back, run the business right, and help your father retire with dignity. At what cost? Do I just forget that Tyler spent 3 years sleeping with my girlfriend? Do I pretend that it's normal that you all knew or at least suspected and said nothing? That your first response was to tell me not to cause drama? We didn't know, she insisted. Rachel came over every Sunday. Tyler was there every Sunday. You think they were just really good friends? You all saw what you wanted to see because it was easier than dealing with reality. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Where was fair when I spent 3 years helping Dad for free? Where was fair when Tyler got handed a business he wasn't qualified to run? Where was fair when you told me to let it go after I found out I'd been cheated on for 3 years? She didn't have an answer for that was all. No one on the other end of the line spoke. I said, I'm going to finish out my contract, which has 4 months left. I'll get the business ready to sell by then. Dad can stop working. You can move to a smaller place, and Tyler can choose his own career path. That's it for me. No family dinners, no holidays, and no pretending to be one big happy family. You're being mean. No, I'm telling the truth. I'm putting myself first for the first time in my life instead of giving up things for a family that doesn't care. Try it sometime. I hung up before she could say anything. I last heard from Jordan, who keeps in touch through mutual friends. Things aren't great. Mom and Dad sold their house and moved into a condo. They're helping Tyler with rent, which is going faster than they thought it would. Yes, helping Tyler with rent. It turns out that when you lose your cushy job because the business gets sold and you don't have any real skills or work history, it's hard to find work. Who knew? Rachel tried to get in touch a few months ago with a long text about how she was working on herself, realized what she had done wrong, and wanted to apologize properly. I read it, felt nothing, and deleted it without responding. A week later, she sent another message asking if we could at least talk. I blocked her number. Tyler's text was even better. It came about a month ago. I hope you're happy now. You ruined our family's business just to get back at me. I actually answered that one. I didn't ruin anything. I saved what I could from your incompetence, got Dad enough money to retire, and then I walked away. The fact that you see me refusing to sacrifice myself for you anymore as revenge says everything about who you are. Please don't get in touch with me again. He didn't. If you like this video, please subscribe. It truly helps the channel and helps us bring you more and better tales. Thank you.